it's notorious for dropping out.
Yeah, it's a fun, mentally. Yeah. In some ways, I miss the general assignment. I lived in like public safety, so a lot of times the park. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It feel like literally every day just driving somewhere new. It's oh, thank you. It's a bit like I feel like you communicate better sometimes. Like I feel like given how big the staff you have more just like full things. But it's definitely like nice to be at a big paper because we get like take time if you want to on the story.
Just we have badges in all the doors.
Because they don't have a camera. Yeah. And I kind of have enjoyed like sometimes about because there was just a big thing in Rhino Lake development.
Yeah. Him and Joe Cap.
And like there, you know, it was kind of fun actually to navigate like people who like totally hate the SAR Tribune.
Yeah, it's like
to be like, I know, I get it. But really talk to me is like, okay.
We have a photo.
I definitely get that it's tougher with camera. Radio too, like the radio people have to like.
Oh no, Eric is the assistant. Sean was the operation, which Nate had been all of it. Yeah. And now they have to try to keep up with me.
I do wish our building was like downtown. Because it's like, are you guys like more on the outskirts of town?
Hey boss, sure.
That's like we're you were free. Oh yeah, you are. Yeah. But I kind of wish we just had a big open parking lot. We don't get free parking.
I was loving.
Oh, that's nice. People keep saying like we're one of the last Yeah, I remember visiting Brandon's house in January, and it was like, we go out and up there. Because he grew up there. Yeah, just so like, even in January, there's like kind of nice weather out there. Those work is called the Register Guard. Who's that guy? At the campus.
Here we go, y'all.
Yeah, they're all awesome.
Hey. One rain cloud that's right over our head.
I'll take an umbrella.
It's in the back on the left-hand side. And there's a black ledge.
Those are called.
I'm right behind that first.
I don't know what the deal is like. Were they having a training or what?
Yeah,
they look like the Capitol. Oh yeah. They're not.
So is he talking to the neighbors?
They're like, we're gonna do this over here.
just in case. Is that one from me?
I think he's circling around a lot. Saw his van.
But he isn't.
Well, what's up?
Can you stand in front of the microphone?
Okay. I won't be live, will I?
No, I'm just gonna throw on the light and just make sure I'm pointed directly at you so it actually works.
Sure. Yeah. Here's what I will do as president. I'm declaring my candidacy today. Start. Yeah.
Oh, you did make it on to Channel 5. Well done.
Oh, great. That's awesome.
My bad. Go. Straight at the light. Oh, there. There we go. And it's not kicking out a ton, but it's something. You know, I'm at rash.
What?
You can look at the camera. Don't hurt your eyes.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh, there we go. Is that better? We got a little side profile, but not too bad. Go back further. You got a filter? Oh, you took the filter. I took the filter off. And it seems like it's working a little better now. There you go. Okay. Yep. Good. Is it too angular, or does it work?
I mean, he's pulling up behind us.
Pretty side.
Chief just arrived.
Pretty side angle. We got man. Might be a little bit, but I think we're gonna have to go with it because here he is.
so high. Yeah. Can you see me, I guess, over this?
We can lower it a little
Okay,
bit.
can we? Okay.
Yeah.
You could give me a little bit too much credit. Taller. Thank you. Yeah.
Horn?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Everybody's okay? Good. Sir? You okay? Okay, good. Good evening. My name is Brian O'Hara, BRIANO''HARA. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. I'm joined by the Assistant Chief of Police, Katie Blackwell. This last month has been difficult and challenging in terms of crime. We've seen a spree of smash and grabs, damage to motor vehicles that has affected not just Minneapolis, but cities around the metro area. These crimes, while oftentimes property damage, have taken a very significant impact on our community. It's taken a toll on the victims, on the community, and the officers that are trying to manage, at times, dozens and dozens of reports as they come in. And stopping this problem has been one of our highest priorities. So tonight, I'm thankful to share that we are making progress. We have recovered 2 stolen vehicles earlier today that we believed are involved in some of the damage. And we have 3 juveniles that are now in custody. At this point, those 3 juveniles have been booked for auto theft. And we are in the early stages of our investigation to determine their connection to the crime patterns we've been seeing. About 9 a.m. this morning, one of our officers that was monitoring surveillance video and license plate readers spotted a stolen vehicle in North Minneapolis that was a white Kia Sorento. That was the same vehicle that Brooklyn Park Police had pursued a few hours earlier in connection with this crime pattern. Our officer immediately alerted patrol units and other officers who tracked the vehicle and attempted to make a motor vehicle stop. The suspects fled on foot, and our officers pursued and successfully captured 3 of the juveniles. We now have a significant amount of physical evidence to process from the most recent spree last night. We're also continuing to canvass affected neighborhoods for additional video footage, witnesses, and documentation of the damage. To support this effort, we assigned 36 of our community service officers today to spend the day in the neighborhoods that were affected earlier today. They've been gathering evidence, speaking with residents, and helping victims complete police reports, because we know how stressful and how frustrating this process can be for our residents. So in the early morning hours of today, more than 100 vehicles were reported damaged in Minneapolis alone. At the same time, we know dozens of other vehicles had been damaged around the same time period in multiple cities in the metro. In Minneapolis, once our sergeants on duty realized that we were having this spree happen again, they immediately initiated our crime pattern response protocol, which is an all hands on deck approach that we use, and we shut down response to non-emergency calls, call for mutual aid, get help from the State Patrol, the Sheriff's Office, Metro Transit, and do everything we can to stop the spree. It allows us to help develop strong leads and recover the stolen vehicles that are linked to these crimes. One vehicle we believe that was connected to the spree last night was recovered in the 2nd precinct. The 2nd vehicle was recovered with the 3 arrests in the 4th precinct. We'll continue to use our crime pattern response protocol, continue these investigations, and continue working with all of our law enforcement partners, including those agencies around the Metro, the State Patrol, Sheriff's Office, and the Metro Transit Police. So while the progress that we have today is encouraging, we know there is a lot of work still ahead. Our officers are working tirelessly to try and stop this crime spree. And I want to thank everyone from our community who is remaining vigilant and calling in suspicious activity, because that's what's able for us to make the difference. Unfortunately, with property crimes, a lot of times we're finding out hours and hours later that a property crime occurred. But last night we had residents in the 5th Precinct here and a resident downtown that was able to call police and alert us as these crimes were happening, and that helps to make the difference. So I urge all of our residents, if you hear something or see something, say something. Please call 911 immediately. The faster we know that this problem is happening, the faster that we can respond and try and put an end to it. We cannot do this alone, and we value all of our partnerships with all of the law enforcement agencies that have been helping us, and certainly our partnerships with all of our community members. So with that being said, I'll do the best I can to address questions that you have.
Do you have any sense of total over the last month and a half, 2 months, what the numbers are?
In Minneapolis, over 500 since we've had this problem, we believe are connected to this spree. Just last night in Minneapolis, at least 100, and a few dozen more in other surrounding towns. I believe Brooklyn Park, obviously, I think St. Louis Park, Edina, a few other towns also affected at the same time this problem was going on here.
When you are, you have the 3 juveniles, are you all finding out more about the connection of this spree and any more evidence that you're finding out? Are they people that are connected? Are they not?
So the 3 juveniles that we have been arrested before. 2 of the 3 are very well known to us. We've had dozens of contacts with them, but obviously they were just taken into custody a few hours ago. So that's still in the initial stages to determine exactly what further crimes in Minneapolis they're connected to. But obviously this crime spree was happening, the same MO, the same time period, and they are individuals who live in the city that are known to us.
But you don't know if they have past record of this crime of breaking into cars?
This is a newer problem that we have seen. I know one of the individuals well, so certainly a past history of connection to auto theft, which is something, unfortunately, kind of a common denominator that we've seen is joyriding in stolen cars and then other problems, whether it's last year we were talking about street robberies. Thankfully, the street robberies are down quite significantly, but the problem that we're seeing now is these smash and grabs. And sometimes they're not even grabs, they're just damaging the windows to vehicles.
Yeah, and I've seen some videos of it. Have you seen, or does it seem like it's sometimes a situation where they'll stop a car and others will get out,
yes,
break into these cars,
yes,
and maybe take things?
So we've seen at times, like early this morning, at least five individuals, sometimes as many as 8, and it's multiple individuals then getting out and using some type of blunt object to break the window of parked vehicles, and doing it to multiple vehicles at one time.
And there was some speculation about, is part of this, have there been some of these cases where police will see a car and because of policies, and I understand there's reasons for these policies, that they're not able to chase after for safety reasons? Well,
most of the time, the greatest problem that we have is finding out that the crime is happening when it's happening. So if it's just a series of cars parked on the street at 4 o'clock in the morning, unless there's someone to see that, to call us, oftentimes we're not finding out until hours later. So that's the initial problem. And then 2 would be connecting the vehicle to those crimes, and a crime that would allow a vehicle pursuit if that's necessary. So what we did last night is what we do with our other crime sprees, and immediately call for help. We call for the State Patrol to try to get the helicopter here, so that if it is a situation where it doesn't meet the pursuit policy, at least we'll have the helicopter here. We'll have help from other law enforcement agencies.
Is this something that they're posting online, or being, just social media kind of thing?
We suspect that, but we have not seen that. And some of the social media that the youth here are using are not some of the traditional platforms. So whether they're sharing things on an encrypted messaging app or those types of things, I don't know. But we have been monitoring social media because certainly it fits kind of the profile of other problems that we saw in the last few years that were being kind of glorified on social media.
Any sense of why this type of smash and grab property crime is up across the city?
You know, it's across the entire metro. It's spiked over the last month very, very dramatically. You know, I can't speculate other than to say what we know, and we know it's connected to juveniles. We know there's oftentimes a connection to stolen cars, which is again what we've seen over the last few years. Just thankfully, it's not the problem of violent robberies that we were seeing over a year ago.
When you say that 500 figure and the spike over the last month, kind of put into context what's more of a typical average for the last month?
We can get those numbers for you. It is a very dramatic increase. Yes.
Have you seen any patterns? I feel as though there's been a lot of blocks that have been near large complexes or apartment buildings. Have you seen any trends with where this has been happening?
Certainly, parking lots, you know, out in the open that are near, in just places where there's larger or a more dense concentration of autos, but there is not one geographic pattern per se.
And I know you've already talked about some of what may have helped lead to getting some arrests. Is there anything else? Like, I guess I'm wondering, some of residents I've spoken to have talked about adding cameras.
Yes.
Is that helpful?
It's very helpful, and that's why we have 36 community service officers down here today and around the city, because the video is helpful. And ultimately, in order to have a case against someone just for one particular vehicle, we have to be able to prove that a specific person damaged that specific vehicle. So this is a very, very labor-intensive, investigative-intensive effort, and just we're hopeful that you know, with some of the leads that we have, some of the evidence that's now been recovered, not just the vehicles that were recovered, but evidence inside of them, that can then be useful for more serious charges.
Do you have any idea what they're taking? I mean, do people leave valuables in the cars anymore?
Yeah, I mean, that's number one thing that I should have said. Obviously, people, you know, we encourage people not to leave valuables that are visible in the open. But at times, you know, we have seen, you know, just a whole row of cars with the window being smashed. So, not even sure if these kids are even checking if something is visible before they do that.
One of the neighbors I spoke to who applauded your efforts overnight here had said they were confused by they didn't see any fingerprinting going on the vehicle. Do you mind kind of alluding, like, when your officers pull up, there isn't any camera footage, how you go about, because you said it's a pretty complex connection to who did what to what car?
Yeah, so there is a lot of evidence that's been recovered. Our crime lab has been responding to these scenes and has been processing evidence where there is a likelihood that something of evidentiary value would be recovered. So earlier today, not here, but in other parts of the city, there were items that were left in the street that we believe were stolen out of the cars. So that's been processed. The 2 stolen vehicles that have been recovered, items inside of those cars are being processed both for DNA and for fingerprints, as well as fingerprinting of the stolen cars themselves that we believe are connected to these crimes. So yes, we are not just looking for video. We are you know, very intentionally looking in places where we believe something of value could be recovered. If someone has a video that shows, for example, you know, a suspect putting their hand on glass as they're trying to bust the window, then that would be something that we would try and print. But we need to be pointed in a specific direction for something like that.
My last question for you is, some of the folks I've spoken to they've called glass repair shops. They have about a week out to the next appointment. Yeah. 2 of them today have mentioned to me their curiosity if there's any connection to the glass repair shops. Can you allude to any?
Yeah, this seems to be a problem with juveniles. And over the last month, we have had some instances of other burglaries into auto, breaking of windows, and adults have been arrested that we don't believe are related to this specific problem. This specific problem appears to be a crime spree with juveniles, which we have seen in different forms here over the last few years. So nothing to think that there's any more nefarious connection to somebody trying to make money off of this.
You mentioned videos. I noticed in Minneapolis, like on Nicollet, there are video cameras available. Are you able to take those and utilize them? And are you able to track any of these suspects as they move around
Yeah.
the city?
So that's how the arrests were made this morning, because Brooklyn Park had pursued that vehicle. We knew that specific vehicle was wanted, related to the crimes that we're talking about here in the metro, and it hit a license plate reader, and our officers working surveillance then were able to then work off of where it last hit the license plate reader, look at cameras and kind of track it as it moved throughout the city, until ultimately, I believe it was one of our canine officers saw it and then attempted to stop it, and the arrests were made.
And because you are familiar with these juveniles, I understand, beds kind of the juvenile justice system makes it a little difficult, but is there like CPS following up? Are there other agencies that are able to like track these children that are doing these?
Well, I can tell you at least one has been on our radar for some time, and we go out and try and visit with him and his family whenever he's home, literally at night and every weekend. So it's someone that's very well known to us, and I'm sure well known to other parts of the system. But it remains a challenge. And so, as I mentioned, the most evidence that we have right now is auto theft, to book them for being in the stolen car. So that's what we have right now, and us and the other agencies are going to try and work backwards now. But again, we're not dealing with, thankfully, we're not dealing with violent crimes. We're dealing with breaking car windows and stealing things out of cars, which, again, we would have to be able to prove each time that a specific person broke the window and then took something out of it.
Is that frustrating for you guys? When you get violent crime?
It's frustrating because it's so time consuming, and they're doing dozens of these. When we do have these sprees, it's happening dozens of times, not just here in Minneapolis, but again, in towns around the metro.
And it's misdemeanor stuff, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And nothing you can say about whether they're one group, multiple groups, if it's how many people?
We don't think it's one group.
Yeah.
It's a small amount of juveniles, but we don't think it's one group, no.
And with the amount of, this has to accumulate to a certain amount of money, if enough cars are, is there a threshold where it's financially, like, they get charged with something else?
Again, it could be, but you'd have to be able to prove individually that Brian O'Hara is the person that broke each of those windows. So it's a challenge. And just trying to file all of these reports today for all of these victims and provide people with a level of service is very time consuming and it's challenging. And then take it from there to try and do the follow-up investigation to get it to that point, is just an added challenge. While of course we're still dealing with the other typical problems that the city has.
And my last question is, one of the victims of one of these crimes was praising that they had the little card on their window too.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to be proactive?
Yes.
With that?
So that's, as we're finding out about these, we send our officers. So we'll initially get one call. That's what happened down here last night, and then the cops will get here, and then they'll check the neighborhood. So then they'll find on their own, while people are still sleeping and may not find out for hours, they will identify the vehicles that they think are involved and then leave people with a service card. Because we need to try and get the information as best as possible and help people to file these reports. Yeah.
One question.
Yes, sir.
I'm thinking the challenge might be the fact that you can individually identify them. Is that maybe the motivation why they might be going
The challenge might be to identify them?
Yeah. Is that the reason? One of the reasons why they're going out and doing it? Because they know they might not get caught.
Well, I think that's always part of the issue that we're seeing with juveniles. We've seen much more serious crime. We've seen gun crimes with young juveniles where it's clear that they don't have sufficient regard for their own lives, let alone other people's lives. So, thankfully, we're not talking about that. But beyond that, I can't. I don't know what's so attractive about this.
Because in a lot of cases they're not taking things, you know. So I mean, does it?
Some cases they're not.
You know, it just seems like maybe they're just doing it for the enjoyment of it or something.
And that's why we wonder, like you mentioned earlier, about the social media part, because we know that was actually a part of the robbery pattern that we saw here last year.
Oh.
There was a connection to that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And is there any recourse for the victims of the crime? I mean, if there was an adult, you know, you can sue for property.
Yeah.
You know, juveniles not so much. Is there?
Yeah,
any recourse
I'm
for
not
it?
aware.
It'd be a civil matter. It's basically be a civil matter, so you could still go through that process if you wanted to, but you'd have to prove a lot. They'd have to be charged, and then go through that process.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, at least these are
Good.
Oh, whoa!
Sorry, guys.
Okay,
Sorry, I got
no
this.
worries.
Got it?
Oh wow. Okay.
Send you a bill.
Damage
I think you
No, I got
lost
it
a
for you.
leg. I think you lost a leg.
Like collapse on you.
You wanna
I got it.
undo it?
Yeah.
Here, wait, let me unplug
Cord.
this.
Okay.
Is this mine? Gonna get my shit away from.
Good.
Thanks for the light.
No worries. No worries.